Okay, what if I told you that the trends of blue jeans act as a mirror into society? From the bell bottoms of the 60s and 70s, to the ultra baggy jeans of the 90s, and to the skinny jeans of the 2010s, they all represent what was going on in society at the time. Today, I'm going to inform you about how jean styles have evolved over the decades, how jean styles reflect the culture that they were in, and why it even matters. The blue jean, no, for the most part, each decade had its own distinct style. Some styles repeat themselves, as styles and trends tend to do. For the most part, each decade had its own distinct style. The blue jean was first created in 1873 by Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis. Denim pants were a more practical work garment than the denim overalls that were commonly worn. Then and through the 1930s, the blue jean was worn as a workwear for men who worked in the mines and other manual labor jobs. Jeans were worn for the first time for fashion in the 1950s, with the boxy cuff styles being embraced. Lots of movie stars and bad boys popularized these. It was even seen as rebellious and was banned in some school districts. The 60s and 70s brought a fun flair to the denim fashion world, with bell bottoms and embroidery on your jeans being all the rage. Jeans represented freedom and self-expression among the youth at the time. There was also a rise of punk culture in the 70s, which embraced the ripped straight leg style with DIY modifications like rips, safety pins, and zippers. In the 1980s, the designer jeans were very popular, with designer brands like Calvin Klein and Gloria Vanderbilt. Skinny and ripped styles with acid wash and stone washes, as well as bright colors, were the styles that people wore. Kids only wore jeans as play clothes, so they thought of wearing jeans as super uncool. This is where the idea of the mom jean arose. The punk styles from the 70s were still there in the 80s, with an oversized look being embraced. Streetwear was one of the biggest fashion staples of the 90s, which really embraced the punk styles and grunge styles. Extremely baggy jeans were on trend, with popular brands being Carhartt, Dickies, and Janko. The wider your jeans, the better. Jeans were often also straight-legged and sometimes ripped. High-waisted mom jeans were still a big staple, and the skater style was embraced among the young people. The rise of pop stars like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera in the 2000s made a huge influence on the jeans that people wore, especially young teenage girls. Tight and ultra low-rise styles were all in, as well as the flared and bootcut styles that were popular in the 70s. Denim capris and ultra mini skirts were also popularized. A light wash and distressed look was trendy, and you got extra points if your denim was embroidered or bedazzled. The skinny, tight-fitting style carried its way into the next decade, as skinny jeans were all that anyone wore in the 2000s. They were versatile, as they were comfortable enough to wear to work, but stylish enough to wear to nicer outings, like a date night. Today, the current trend is a mid-rise with a looser fit and going back to vintage styles from the 90s and early 2000s. As you can see here, I'm wearing a pair like that. Eco-friendly brands and thrifting jeans were highly embraced among the young people, as we're realizing that the durability of our clothes is really important. The nostalgic throwbacks that are popular now may point to something bigger in our society. Today, society as a whole may long for simpler times a couple decades before. The trends of jeans have always been a reflection of the culture of each decade. In the 1950s through 70s, there was a rebellious spirit among the American youth. The civil rights movement of the 60s had lots of protests for Black equality and rights. Black people had refused to wear denim, as it used to be referred to as the Negro cloth. Jeans were worn in these protests by both blacks and whites as the move of defiance towards racism. The hippie movement brought an attitude of freedom, and bell-bottoms were a staple of the hippie style. Punk culture that started in the 70s was angry with commercialism and social inequality. All of these movements express themselves through clothing, and the clothing somewhat marks the movements and makes them iconic. Throughout the 80s, there was a recession, so people tried to display their wealth through their clothing, and especially their blue jeans. This made the classic jean style a staple in every American's closet. Famous rappers and skaters in the 90s popularized the street style and grunge, which embraced baggy jeans. Hip-hop was the music at the time, and everything was very casual, and the clothes reflected it. The baggy style also aided in foot placement with skateboarders, and then made its way to everyday fashion, which was totally gnarly. Pop stars in the 2000s made low-rise style popular. The whole goal of the trend was to look luxurious with a minimal amount of fabric use. In the 2010s, music festivals gained a lot of popularity, which inspired denim festival wear, like fashion overalls and jumpsuits. There was also a revival of 80s fashion in the 2010s, as colored denim and mom jeans made a comeback. This resurgence of old fashion, which is also apparent today, and as stated earlier, may be pointing to the fact that society has become too complicated and we are longing for simpler times. If we cannot do so in real time, we just might as well do so with our clothing. You might be wondering why I could talk so much about blue jean trends, and why it even matters. I hope you can see why paying attention to trends is important. That a change in style or trend may reflect a change in society's values overall. That changes in trends may indicate a shift in culture at the time, which can also go along with the change in values. Finally, that fashion, societal issues, and pop culture are always evolving. Today, I've informed you how jean styles have evolved over the decades, how they reflect culture, and why it's important. Now that you know how jeans have evolved, what can you see about society by the jeans that you wear? Does anyone have any questions?
So, in your opinion, what's your favorite pair of jeans?
My favorite pair of jeans are the flared style from the 70s.
And why is that?
Because I just think they fit the body very elegantly, and I like the culture at the time. Are there any more questions? All right, thank you.